We expect a lot from schools in the United States. We expect schools to teach young people how to get along well with others. We expect schools to teach young people how to read, how to write, and how to think. We expect schools to teach young people how to do well in college and how to have a good career. We expect schools to teach young people not to bully one another. We want schools to teach young people not to engage in risky sexual behavior. We want schools to create a financially literate population. I think the primary purpose of schools should be to prepare young people to participate politically, wisely, frequently, and with enthusiasm in what is clearly a very challenging democracy. Unfortunately, for that purpose, we have low expectations. Now, we know that historically, public schools were designed to support this nation's experiment in self-governance. And we know that schools can do that if they engage students in a special kind of education, a political education that helps young people form the knowledge and build the skills and the dispositions to want to politically participate. We know, however, that even though some students receive a high-quality political education, many students receive no political education, or one that is watered down, it's inauthentic, or it's just plain boring. I think we need to do better. We need to change what we do in schools to make sure that every student in the United States, regardless of where they live, regardless of their race or their ethnicity or their religion or their social class or their citizenship, is afforded a high-quality political education. Schools are good places for political education, and this is so for a couple of reasons. One is that schools have more diversity than students encounter in the world outside of school. Students are politically socialized in families and by social media and in religious institutions. And even though those are good places to teach kids about how to engage in politics, they're not as diverse as what we typically see in schools, and diversity is a deliberative asset. Another reason why schools are good places for political education is schools have teachers who either are or could be equipped to engineer high-quality political education lessons that are interesting and that are engaging, and the research shows really makes a difference. Let me give you an example. There's one school that I study that asks every student to become a state legislator, and for an entire semester, they simulate what it's like to build and participate in a democracy. The students create bills about issues that they care about, that matter to them. They deliberate in committee, they debate on the floor, and in the process, they learn some important things. They learn, one, that you need to speak clearly, and that you need to back up your ideas with evidence and with reasons. They learn how to listen to people with civility who have different views than their own. And they learn that in democracy, we don't always win. Now, what are the barriers to this kind of political education? Well, one barrier is that increasingly, we expect schools to be all about individual achievement. We don't want to leave any students behind. We want to race to the top. But by doing that focus on individualism, we let go of the public purpose of school. So while we should want every student to succeed, we should also want democracy to succeed. And to do that, we need to reclaim the public purpose of schools. Another barrier is that we know that the United States is more politically polarized than it's been in the last 100 years. People are more likely to move to a community where they are living next to people whose views are the same as their own. And therefore, they marinate in an ideological stew of sameness. That's not a good thing. That causes us to think that we're always right and other people are always wrong. And it discourages people from wanting schools to reflect multiple and competing views, because often parents and other members of the public want schools to support and represent just their own views. So what should we do differently? I think we need to double down. I think what we need to do is to say, look, This is a time in American democracy that is really challenging. And we shouldn't ignore how important it is to make sure that we do better in the future. And to do that, we need to make sure that every student, regardless who that student is, gets a high-quality political education. To do that, we need to want schools to be about the public, not just about the private. We need to want schools to represent views that are different from our own. And we need to thank teachers, because across this country, in every state, there are teachers who are doing a fabulous job with political education, and it's hard work, and it's not for the faint of heart. These teachers have not given up on the power of education or the power of democracy, or most importantly, as Dewey taught us, the connection between the two. We shouldn't give up on that either. Now, we expect a lot from schools, and we should. In my book, however, political education needs to go to the top of the list. Thank you so much.